Welcome back to Mzansiunicorns. My name is Teddy Kuzwayo, and on today's episode, filming to you live at the B20 Summit, is Tebogo Moalusi, the founder and convener of Creative 20. Debza,
What's up, King?
welcome to the episode.
Thank you so much. Thank
Excellent.
you for having us.
Creative 20.
Yes.
Tell me more about it.
Creative 20 is a response to this global moment that has descended on Africa. We know that the G20 presidency is currently being hosted by President Cyril Ramaphosa, and this is a crucial moment for the continent. The creative economy is a massive contributor to global, economic engagement, and the Creative 20 is a response to elevating creatives in the discussions around global economic growth, around social participation, around dealing and managing the challenges and risks of where the world is going. And so it's really about leveraging and elevating the role of creativity and the creative economy in the discussion around global politics and business.
What is the creative economy? Just explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old.
Sure.
What's the definition of it?
So the creative economy is quite a complex one because creatives naturally don't like to be put in boxes. But by definition, the creative economy is actually the creative and cultural industry, the CCI.
Okay.
And it's got 17
CCI. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's made up of 17 subsectors that actually make that up. So from animation to audiovisual to film and television, music, performing arts, books and reading and writing. So there's a full spectrum, and basically where people create in order to transact or exchange. That's what the creative economy is made out of. So it's quite expansive and ever changing because every single day people are creating new ways of work, new spaces of opportunity. And that's why I think it's so exciting about the creative economy.
And what was the outcome of what you guys discussed as part of the overall G20? What were your objectives? Do you feel like you met your objectives, and what is the plan going forward?
Sure. So the Creative 20 has five key objectives. Number one, we are about the business of the arts. I think there's a lot of investment on the practitioner side where it's about supporting them to become better creatives. But the business of the arts gets left behind. And so it is about building a sense of resilience, sustainability within the creative economy. So that's number one. Number two, it's about being global first. So the G20 is a global platform, and the global village is an exciting and big market. And I think the South African market isn't big enough for the creative economy. And so we must expand beyond our borders so that we can really take advantage of the amount of wealth and jobs we can create. So that's number two. Number three is we are about partnerships and collaborating for the future. So the previous models of partnerships, I think, are changing. If we look at geopolitically where the center of power sits, that's changing. People are making new partnerships, new friends. We know kind of the East versus West dynamic, the global South dynamic. And so we as creatives need to think cleverly around where our next markets are going to be and how do we learn to service those markets. So for example, you've got many vehicles that have entered the South African markets which come from China. Now, if you're going to service that market based on, call it a marketing strategy, an activation and experiential strategy, you need to understand the cultural disposition of China and how they do business in order to pitch for work for you to get a deal from one of the companies like BYD, for example. So it's about changing our orientation from not just servicing kind of a Western European market to a bigger market that is slightly different from what we know. So that's number three. Number four is about capacity. We have to build physical and soft infrastructure in order to build the creative economy. That's more theaters, more studios, spaces like these where people can have access to do podcasting, to do editing, to put their products onto the market. So we need physical and soft infrastructure to facilitate the creation of artifacts, but also the trade and market access. And then the last one is about the well-being of the creative practitioner. Post-COVID, we lost so much. We lost people, property, assets, and people still have not recovered. So there's a lot of resilience we have to build within the creative practitioner space. There's mental health issues, there's substance abuse, there's gambling challenges. So it's about strengthening, and gambling is insane. It's a 1.5 trillion rand industry in South Africa alone. Today.
Wow.
Right? So that's the size of that animal.
And that's just gambling.
Just gambling.
That is crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's really about making sure that creative practitioners can continue to create.
Yeah.
There's issues of financial resilience.
Yeah.
We are tired of watching our icons be buried as paupers, where we must do crowdfunding initiatives in order to bury an icon that has given 50 years of their life, making us laugh, making us dance. And so those are some of the reconfigurations. And so far as that's concerned, we've packaged those and submitted those as a policy kind of directive that hopefully will have some elevation in G20.
So what is the current level of maturity in South Africa with regards to the creative space?
So it varies depending on which subsector of the creative economy you're speaking about. So for example, the music, the film side, those are a lot more mature because you've got big industry players, you've got financial services, you have DFIs, departments that support them.
DFIs?
Development funding institutions that support those subsectors. There are still questions around issues of ownership and IP, which are being debated at the moment. But by and large, those have decades of international businesses being contributors and participants. The film side, the likes of Disney, Amazon, Netflix have come into the country to shoot films, and they use local talent. So naturally, that builds the maturity. But you also then have got new frontier creative economy sectors like animation, like gaming, or the AV and graphic design space. The digitech creative spaces are quite new, and so those are developing but are growing because of the pervasiveness of tech entering kind of the space of creativity. Once someone has a handset, they become a creative agent. They can be a photographer, a podcaster, a graphic designer, and anything in between. So it really does vary.
Yeah. And tell me, the collaboration that you mentioned earlier around finding the right partnerships, do you find that collaboration cross-country now that you've established the Creative 20? So the collaboration that you may have with other G20 countries, is that something that you've already kicked off, or you still in the process?
Yeah, so we have kicked that off, and similar to how the G20 works, where we started was Brazil, actually, because Brazil was the previous host of G20, and naturally they are coming out of a phase of engaging with some of these issues, and Brazil is a big creative hub, right? They take creativity very seriously. So it's about connecting with the hubs of Sao Paulo and Rio, and looking to create bridges from a collaboration point of view. And then throw forward is the US. Naturally, they are the ones to take over next. And so we've started having conversations around doing Creative 20 in the US for 2026.
So you'll be there.
We hope to be there, depending on how the geopolitical issues play themselves out. But we've received some good feedback. So for example, the mayor of the city of Richmond in Virginia, USA, has shown an interest to collaborate and do a sister city campaign. Because one of the things that Creative 20 wants to drive is to get Johannesburg recognized as a creative city as part of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network.
Why Johannesburg instead of Cape Town, Durban, Gqeberha?
Interestingly, Cape Town and Durban are already creative cities.
Oh, really?
As part of that UNESCO.
Wow, that's crazy.
The craziness is that Johannesburg isn't.
And
it's just been a lack of foresight and leadership to actually get it done, because there's a lot of benefits that come out of that process. But if we can build this city to city platform, it opens up Johannesburg to really become a hub of creativity, which already it is. This will just help us formalize a few things and drive investment. The amount of films that get recorded in Cape Town, for example,
Yeah.
is a direct reflection of how they've built the platforms, to get that support that they need. And I think it's high time that Jozi takes its rightful place as a global city. And we are definitely going to be pushing that as a key initiative.
I mean, it's hosting the B20 and the G20 and all the 20s. So
absolutely.
There's absolutely no reason why Johannesburg is not up there.
Exactly.
Right now, it is the center of conversation because it's not only hosting it in the context of South Africa, but Africa at large.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, how do you feel, actually, now that we're on that topic? How do you feel about South Africa and Johannesburg being the first city in South Africa and Africa to host an event like the G20?
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a sense of excitement because it puts Johannesburg on the map. We are a global city, but also we're a global African city that's known to connect the world to the continent. So I think we're deeply honored about that opportunity, and we must not squander it, not for ourselves and not for the continent. So that's number one. Number two is, I think out of this process, particularly B20, we will get a flow of investment, of interest, which will then grow, and I think the creative economy will hopefully benefit out of those discussions. On the not so positive side, I think it was interesting to watch kind of the city start to prepare itself for this global moment.
I mean,
there was, traffic lights being fixed, these street lines are being painted,
potholes, the craters.
Why isn't this the normal course of how we experience the city? It shouldn't be that just because we have visitors coming, now there must be a flurry of activity to try and pretend that all is well and good. So I think we must make a better effort at making sure that the city works all the time. Because that's how you crowd in capital, from financial capital, social and people capital, tech, all of those things will come when people can see a functional city. And I think we can't sit back and watch the city not become what it should be. And those are some of the things that I think will come out of this. Is a sustained effort to make sure that Joburg is clean, that the lights are working, that services are delivered, and that we have a functional city that delivers services for business, because every business exists in a municipality before you talk about South Africa. So when we enable businesses to succeed because they have water, electricity, logistics can get in and out of the city, you enable capital to come into the city and grow and create jobs.
Now going back to business within the context of creative and the creative market, what are some of the challenges that you see creatives experience when they're actually not making a business out of their skill set, out of being creatives? I mean, how does that journey work actually?
So I think the first is recognizing the difference between passion and the ability to convert that into a business. It's one thing to be passionate about something, but when you have to price it, put it into a market, do a competitive analysis, all of the things that you need for a traditional business, that's a different skill set. And we're finding that there's a gap between being a creative practitioner and being a business owner. And those two things are sometimes at a disjuncture. So that's number one. Number two is, even when you become a business person, sometimes growth and scale is not what creative practitioners want, because it shifts them away from being closer to the work of art. So if you are a podcaster and you are running a business with 3-4 people, once that becomes a 20 people business, the level of effort you must put in is now on HR, on governance, on all the things that a business person needs to focus on. And that shifts you away from the passion work of recording, of preparing scripts, of copy, and all of those things. And we find that sometimes growth is not what practitioners want. They actually want to remain relatively small so that they can continue to enjoy the craft of creativity. So that has been an interesting experience. The other is access to market, which is naturally what SMEs experience is. How do you make sure that creative practitioners and their assets can find access to market at the right price. Interestingly, the creative sector is one of the few where everybody wants to bargain the price. It's like, okay, I'm a performing artist and you want me to come and sing at your wedding. And the first thing you say, I'm going to discount. It's like, well, when you were buying the wedding dress, you never said,
no, not at all.
When
you went to Paris.
Right? So
Vera Wang.
I think there must be a level of protecting the industry against this horse trading that erodes value. Because when you do that, you make it difficult for people to be confident around valuing their assets, because they always have to kind of change their price depending on who they are talking to. A brand like Maxhosa, for example, has done well to locate itself as an African luxury brand. It's either you can afford it or you can't. If you're going to say it's overpriced, it's because you either don't understand the ethos or the technical aspects of how the brand and products are created, or you're just not ready to be a consumer of that brand. And so it's important that we do some demand and customer education around the consumption of creative assets, and also the long-term value that lies in some of these creative assets.
I mean, even the likes of a black coffee, his price point, it's either you can afford it or you can't. That's what it is.
Nelson Makamo, the artist, there's a few that are in that space. So respecting price and creating market demand becomes crucial. But also, for as long as South Africa is not growing as an economy, our ability to consume creative assets is declining, right? So the first few things you do when you feel the pinch, you start going to, less to the theater, you're eating at home, you are tightening your belt. And what happens as a consequence is the creative economy declines. And so we have to grow the economy generally, so that we allow for people to consume creative experiences, assets as an extension of that.
But this is where the creatives go overseas, because the market is big. So the likes of the people that we've just mentioned, Nelson Makamo, Latuma, Black Coffee, their market is global. And I suppose, how do you encourage creatives to think global, to actually really acknowledge that the world is not the size of Johannesburg or Gqeberha or Cape Town, but you could actually sell your content or whatever it is that you sell or produce anywhere in the world? At what juncture? And how do you encourage that kind of thinking?
We have to encourage people to travel. It's hard to tell somebody what New York looks like. It's hard to show someone what Seoul looks like. You have to go and show them by immersing them in those environments. And then they come back understanding what's the level of competitiveness, of scale, all of those things. So I think one of the greatest investments that we could make as the government, as business, is to make sure that more young people go into exchange programs of going overseas and partnering and learning from other creative practitioners from across the seas. Because it is from that they bring back experience, that they bring back ideas, but also build the social capital to be able to collaborate, So I think we have to enable people to be, the mobility factor has to be increased. Global citizenry is an important part of where I think we must move to become competitors in the global scale.
And with global citizenry in mind, what markets are actually similar to ours, out of interest, in terms of the ones that we gel easiest with? And let's put it out there as in the context of G20, in those particular markets. Where do we collaborate the best and easiest, and why?
So I think you'd have to look at three key things. Number one is institutions. So where there is an alignment of institutions, you find that it's easier to do business. Whether it is the diplomatic core, in terms of the support you get to move across countries, that would be number one. Number two, it would be institutions such as financial services, spaces. So your ability to transact is also about currency. It's about the bridges that have been created for money to move across those particular channels. So that's an important institution. The third institution that I think is important is academics, actually. So our universities are breeding grounds for a lot of creativity. And so what you see is where you've got a youth culture that's based on academic exchange, you find that there's a lot more exchange creatively that's also happening. So I think that's one of the key elements. The other is time zone and language, right? So your ability to talk to people and connect with people is important. So I think, for example, doing business with a Brazil is difficult because of how deeply they speak Portuguese, for example. If you don't speak the same language, the velocity of being able to close deals and transact becomes different, right? The same applies with the East, like China and so on. That's why it's always been easier to go to Europe and the US. Because of time zones and because of the language factor. But I think that continuously changes with technology and other things that are making it easier to communicate, across different cultures and language. The last one that I would say is opportunity, that based on what is happening in that country at that time. There are certain countries which are not interested in elevating creativity as a platform for exchange. And there are those who have invested. So for example, Tokyo, right? If you look at what is happening in Japan, and you look at the growth of K-pop and the levels of investment in creativity as a discipline,
Korean side.
On the Korean side, yes. That's the energy that you want to be able to plug into.
It's absolutely
because
crazy.
when you plug in Amapiano there, its ability to spread and grow is not a function of language, it's a function of culture. And so it doesn't become an impediment to exchange, right? And that's why I think those places have seen an uptick in terms of their own cultural assets and cultural diplomacy moving across the seas, and other people investing theirs in them. A sense of openness and the prioritization of cultural exchange as a diplomatic tool.
That's brilliant. That's such an interesting perspective, because I've seen some of these Amapiano DJs dress in Squid Game outfits, which actually collaborates the two. And it complements beyond language, but it's really more the cultural side, as you've said. And so both markets can consume each other. Because it's easy to consume Amapiano if they could relate to that outfit. And at the same time, it's easy to consume then the Squid Game element from the South African side. So that's a brilliant point. I never actually thought about that.
Our kids are consuming K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Don't even get me started. Whenever I take my kids to school, they all about those demons. My wife is just like, no, I'm not interested. We're just growing people, so I'm not trying to entertain those demons, but they are obsessed. My daughter in particular, 5-year-old. So my son's 7, daughter's 5, my youngest is 2. So he doesn't really count. But the 7 and the 5-year-old, they know those songs backwards. The entire soundtrack. And my daughter actually boasts about the rap parts. There's a rap part in all this. It's like, Daddy, Dada, I can rap. Okay, tell me about it. And then she listens to like the first part, and then the rapper is like, okay, listen to this, and she even does the action. I'm like, wow.
Now think about the power of that. Her first interaction with rapping, with hip hop as a concept, is coming out of the East. Like, you'd never thought that would happen. You'd
not at all.
No, that will always come from the US as the home of hip hop. But our children's first interaction with hip hop comes from the East. And that shows you the power of, when I said that the shifts that are happening between East and West and the global South, that is what is happening in terms of cultural diplomacy, cultural capital, and creative exchange.
Wow. I've actually seen a lot of challenges coming out of the East. Amapiano challenges. And I'm like, man, these Koreans can dance better than me. I was like, yes. And then also, Jerusalem? What is that?
Jerusalem, that song.
That song.
That
yeah,
went
I
insane.
mean, that went.
Yeah.
That was also an example of cultural connectivity, where just simply through a dance move, everyone could relate to it. I mean, that song had the whole world on steroids. Yeah.
So that's the power of creativity. It breaks bounds. It goes beyond what any other language can do. It binds people. That's why I say creativity is our superpower. Because as African people, it's almost like it's an innate thing that comes with us, you know, as a people.
And it's natural.
It's natural.
Yes, exactly. It's natural.
Your 2-year-old will start just like, you
know. And they got the rhythm and everything, you know.
It's who we are. Right? Now it's how do we harness that? How do we package that and put it on the global scale as a global competitive advantage? And stop treating it as a side thought, as you know, those
or
guys.
Side hustle.
No, we must leverage it, just like how the East leverages maths and science as a competitive platform.
Absolutely.
Creativity is our competitive platform.
So now, which you say there's 17 subsectors? Which of those subsectors are the most exciting? Which of them excite you the most? You know, we understand you mentioned film and music. Those are quite mature. But out of the balance of the 15, which of those are really, really exciting?
I think because of, you know, what AI and tech has done to disrupt the language around business, definitely gaming, AV, animation is going to take the world by storm. Also because of the generational transition that's happening, as more Gen Zs become economically active people, they're also, you know, digitally native, and so it becomes easy to see how the digital and tech side of the creative economy is going to move and grow quite quickly. So I think that's where I would keep an eye on the intersection of technology and creativity. Certainly.
What's your thoughts on gambling? The trillion rand economy.
Man, you know, gambling is, I call it the triple threat. The triple threat is comprised of alcohol, drugs, and gambling. The most vulnerable people in our society are abusing those three things, and it is having a crisis level effect on family life, on people, on young people particularly, on our townships. You wake up in the morning and you see the snaking lines coming out of a betting house or whatever you want to call that.
It's crazy.
Before people go to work, they go and place a bet.
Wow.
And the thing about gambling, right, is that it masks itself as an income stream. Right? So in the mind of somebody, they place it at the top as part of, okay, I go and I earn, you know, some money working on a site. And I gamble to kind of add. But actually what it's a deep expense. Right? And it hits the family at a point where you haven't even bought food. You haven't, you know, put aside money for travel and transport, because we know that 65% of income goes to transportation because of the apartheid spatial planning, where people have to travel an hour to get to work. And so, you know, it is a really, 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 you know, complex thing. So I'm not a fan. However, what has also happened is that it has become an avenue for creatives to actually earn money, right? So if you look at the big betting companies, they have invested a lot of money in content creation, in marketing and advertising, and that money goes into the creative economy. But when I weigh it up on a balance, I think there's a heck of a lot more that we are losing versus what we are gaining. And so there's a deep discussion, a courageous conversation we must have with the creative economy around what is our relationship with this thing. We know that it's making you make ends meet at the end of the month, but the social impact of how it affects the fabric of society is a lot deeper than just what you see. And so moving beyond the scarcity mindset and thinking about the bigger systemic effect of gambling is a lot more important. But we can't rip gambling out of the system and not replace it with something else. And so it's incumbent upon business and government to build an alternative income platform so that people are left with something to go to replace the money they get from a gig, within the gambling space.
And then lastly, what do you hope to get out of the B20 over the next 2 days?
So number one is to gain information. I think we sit at the front seat of information, and we must use that to our advantage. Number two is social capital, building good networks that we can leverage to convert into opportunity. And number three is longevity. There are people here coming from the US, from China, from India, from all kind of parts of the world. Is how can one build relationships that allow Creative 20 to grow in the years to come, so that we can take people to those countries, learn, build, grow, and build wealth together.
Debza, I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show and spending time with us. And I hope you enjoy the next 2 days.
Thank you.
You achieve exactly what you sought to achieve. So I'll see you at Mar-a-Lago next year.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
See you there.
Awesome stuff.
Salute.
Great stuff. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe, like, share, and we'll see you soon. Chop chop.